Did you know that you can use Google Sheets to create a professional looking web application? And get ready for this, for absolutely free. Mind blowing, I know. If you ever wanted to learn how to create an amazing application for free, Google Sheet is probably one of the easiest and the most powerful platform to create your web application. So in this video, I will show you how you can do exactly that, where you can utilize the power of Google Sheet to create amazing, powerful web applications. So let's get right to it. Hey guys, welcome to Code with Mark, where I share helpful videos to help you become a professional web developer a lot faster. If you are interested in learning how to become a professional web developer a lot faster and learn technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, MongoDB, MySQL, and others that are going to help you create amazing, awesome web development app, do consider subscribing to the channel. All right, so the application that we are going to create, it is called Task Manager. So let me show you the application and then we'll deep dive into how you are going to be able to build something like this or a little more advanced, because in this video I'll show you exactly what you need to do to perform a CRUD operation with Google Sheet. So let's say we have two button tops here. One is where we can look at all the tasks, or we can add a new one. So we'll just add a new one first. So we'll just call this test 1, 2, 3, and then we can give a completion date, and we'll just say March 11th, and this is a test 1, 2, 3, yada yada yada, and then we'll just click on save. And then it's going to take that particular task, go to Google Sheet, add it to its sheets, and then bring back all the tasks that are already in there. So another form will be, let me refresh it. So when the home page comes up, it's going to see, like, you're going to see this. But if you want to look at all the tasks by, obviously, right, click on this view all tasks, and I'll show you all the tasks that were already saved in Google Sheets. So if you want to delete it, you can click on this button, confirmation comes up, and you could delete it, so on and so forth. Simple. And then you can edit it. So if you want to edit it, you click on the edit button, which I just did. Let me show you real quick before. Let me zoom this in a little bit more so you will be able to easily see this. And if I click on this edit button, this comes up, and here I'll just change this to, let's just call it a code with Mark, and I click on update. It's gonna go change it, and as you can see right here, change it in code with Mark. So let's hop on over to Google Sheets. So this is Google Sheet. There are literally 4 columns, 1, 2, and 3, and that's all you see. But if I go back in here just to show you, and if I add another task, I'll just call this task test 3, 2, 1, and then put in date for, let's just say 24th, and then yada yada yada. And at the moment there is no task name as 3, 2, 1, just to show you that it's actually going to go and update it. So click on save. Here it is, and if I go back in here, and like voila, here it is. So far, hopefully that makes sense to you. It is very simple. There's nothing special going on here as far as your CRUD operation goes, which is create, read, update, and delete. So let's move on. And how do you actually create this particular application? All right, I just want to give you a quick reminder that I have this special gift that's going to help you, that you can get it at this URL. Don't forget to get it, and don't worry, I'm gonna leave a link in the description for you to make it easier. All right, now back to your video. So what I did was I created a brand new Google Sheets. You could just name this whatever that you like, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna copy these columns just up to here, and then come here and paste it. And the reason being, what I want to do is this, because one of the reasons in Google Sheets, which I feel if you do this, it's going to make your life a lot easier, and your web applications will be a lot more smoother and powerful, and it will have less errors. So one thing what I would do is on column A or anywhere on your columns, you could just literally, let me bring this up here. So, and don't worry, I'll give you a link in which you can download this particular thing. Let me zoom it in. Let's zoom it in. Let's go here and then plus, 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 plus. This is a formula which basically is an if and then statement. And then all that's saying is this part right here, if statement. If column B, starting with row 2 and all the way down, if it has anything, any text, any number, anything, then go on and perform this particular function, which is the row that it is at right now. So if I click over here and then type in 1, it's going to go row number 3. And then the reason why you want to do that is because this will help you create a unique identifier, because when you go back to update or delete your rows, it will know exactly which row to do. So what I will do next is just come over here and select all the rows by holding down the Control, Shift, and down arrow, and then right click and then delete it. So that way I only have these 2 rows. And also in here, Control, Shift, and then the right arrow, select all your columns. I just like to keep things organized. So right click and delete all the columns on the right hand side as well. So right now you have 2 rows and 5 columns. So the next thing, what you want to do is you want to click on Extensions, Apps, Script, and this is going to come up with this. And right now this looks pretty big. So what I'll do is I'll zoom it out a little bit so it will be a little more easier to see. And then I'll delete this, and then I'll already have the app script written. And what I will do is I'll just copy all this, copy, and then paste it in here. And not to worry, like I said, you will have access to this. And we will also go into what each of these things do. So first thing, what I'll do is I'll just name it exactly what I have it here. So I'll just call it name. And you probably noticed that on here, there's this code GS. That means Google Script. So I'll just name this to 1, just so I have things organized. I would like to keep things organized if you've watched any more videos, because like the more organized you are, the cleaner your code will be. So let's create another one by clicking on this plus sign. And when you click on this, you will see 2 options. One is your script. Second is your HTML. So we want to first create a script, and I'll just name the same thing, call it a sheet data, and I'll rename this. And trust me, we're going to go through each of one of these things. And then last but not least is just the HTML index. And not going to go too much into this because it's pretty self-explanatory. Once you see it, you're like, oh, this is pretty easy. And speaking of which, what I'll do is I'll just go over here and copy all of this and then paste it in here. And I'll just click on save, and it saves it. And then if we go back here, and I'll just name this to call it a new task manager. GAS stands for Google Apps Script, but you can name it whatever you want, right? So that is that. And now let's go through each one of these things and see what it actually does. So the very first function, whenever your app loads up, this is the first thing that is going to run. And this particular, what I called it as a name, is the file that is going to look for to run it. So in this case, I named it index, which is right over here. In the web development world, everybody knows index is the first thing that runs, whether you're using it. If you're using especially PHP, that's the first file it's going to run if you have any folders in there. So that's why I just named it, but you can name it whatever you like to name it. And then also what I did was, let me say this in here, and this particular function right here, you don't need to actually do anything with it because you just literally copy and paste it and that's it. And basically what this function do is just like your MySQL connection string. This is what this is. This is going to connect to your Google Sheet, which in this case would be this. And then once it's connected to this, then we can reference the sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, and so on and so forth. So just to give you an idea, at this point, hopefully you are still with me and you're like, this is pretty cool. If you do feel like this is pretty cool, give it a thumbs up or hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel because I put out these amazing videos that help you become a professional web developer a lot faster. And also have a few courses. The link will be in the description. If you're interested in taking that, go on and take that course or courses. And back to here. Right about now, this particular, the way that I just explained there with the Sheet Connect, it becomes your database. This whole sheet now is your database. And the tabs that you create here becomes your tables. And obviously within tables, you have your columns. And one thing I will point it out, when it comes to date, I would highly recommend that you put it in this format and then make this particular column into a text. And how do you turn that column into text? You select the whole thing, go over here, format, and then click on number and then plain text. Because one of the things that Google has a hard time is when you try to convert this into a regular date and time, and then you read it and send it over to the AJAX request, it doesn't play very nice. It throws in an error. So quick hack is just change the text, everything will be perfect. So my recommendation, any column that you have, unless you absolutely need a number, turn everything into a text, and that's that. So this is what this function is going to do. And then this function, basically what it does is it will allow you to get the last row. And this will become so crucial when you start to build these things. It's going to get you the last row, which has the information. So in this case, the last row in this case will be number 2. That's it. And then that will be that. And then this function is pretty standalone. You don't need to do anything. And the whole shabam happens. It's right here. And that's what we're going to copy next. So we go over here. And once you see it, you're like, whoa. This is pretty awesome because this just rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And if you ever use PHP, Node.js, or any of the backend side of it, this is going to seem very, very similar. And I'm just showing you something very simple. Obviously, you can take this, use the knowledge, and add another layer of your knowledge on it, and you're going to create some amazing web applications with Google Sheets. So right now we have everything copied and these are the functions. So next thing what we are going to do is this. Obviously you're like, this is great. I copied it over onto my sheet. I created it, yada, yada, yada. So how do I actually get a URL in which I can actually see what I built? So what you do is click over here, develop, or deploy rather, sorry. And then new development, deployment. And then go over here where it says select type. At the moment of recording, then that's where it is at. It is a possibility. If you're watching this in the future, it may be changed or placed somewhere else. So just look for something similar to this. So you click over here and the gear button, and then you click on web app. And in here, I'm just gonna call it like version 1 and then open to anybody. So anyone who has access to it actually use it. And then click on deploy. And it's going to go in there. Another screen will come up to say, hey, authorize this. And then that's just a one-time thing, like I say right here. And then you should be good to go. So you're going to authorize it. And this comes up, account that you want to authorize it with. And then if you see this, this is a little bug in the system where I don't know why it still comes up, but what I normally do is click on advanced and then click on go to new or whatever your name is over here, and then allow it, and life is good. And we're good to go. And one thing I will advise you, which is a great thing depending on how you look at it, this URL that you get, this is your development of version 1. If you send this URL to somebody else, they are only going to be able to see all the changes that you have made up until this. Let's say today's Monday. You made the changes up until Monday, so you send this URL. Any change you made up until Monday, people will be able to see it. Come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and you made from Tuesday to Friday new changes, this URL will not work. So to get by that, there's another way, which is if you go under deploy and then test deployments, click on this and then copy this URL. Now with this URL, no matter how many changes you make, it's always going to be live. So, which is a good thing, right? If you are like concerned about like, hey, I am developing this and then I don't want to make it live, then use that, test version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. But if you're like, I don't really care, I'm just going to make a live edit like I do sometimes. It's a little dangerous, but it works. Then you use this test deployment and copy this, paste it in here, and now we can rock and roll. And here is our map. So let's take a look. So I'm bringing over here right now. I have 2 rows. So if I click on view all tasks, it's going to go. Right now it doesn't do it because sometimes, like I said, it needs a little encouragement. So I'll go over here on the very first one, and then from there on the drop down box, I'll click on the first one and then click on run. And that would be this, and then refresh it. And let's see what's going on. What kind of error message are we getting? All right. Yeah, sometime what I noticed, you may experience the same thing. I don't know why. And this is a good thing that it happened now, because when you copy this over, you're like, I did everything Mark told me to do. How come it's not working? This is crap. What you do is you close this, you come back in here, you refresh it. Literally, I'm going to show you live. I didn't do anything. Obviously, this is a live recording. And I'm going to go to extensions, apps, script. And then I'm going to go over here to get that URL, test development. And then I'm going to click on this. This comes up. And it didn't work. What? All right, let's see. Let's go here. Let's go here. Everything's good. Let's go add one. This is pretty cool. I'm so glad this is happening because when you copy this over, it's a possibility you may experience the same thing. So let's test this out. So we're testing 1, 2, 3, and go over here, this, yada, yada, yada. And then let's just click on right click, inspect. Let's look at the console log. We'll take this out and then we'll go on save. And let's see, it saved it. I don't know why. It is the weirdest thing, but if we go back in here, here it is. So if I refresh this now, and then watch, literally I did nothing else except just added a task. That's it. So if you go through this and you're like, it's not working, just add a task, it'll come back up. And then also let's edit this just to prove it to you that it actually did work. Testing code with Mark. Updates, it goes in there, updates it, yada yada, and bada bing, bada boom, there's your live web application. Very simple. Let's go through it now, code by code, and we'll see exactly what's happening here. So let's first start with the HTML. So in the header part of it, I'm including my favorite jQuery, obviously at the very top, and then I have the Bootstrap framework, which has the version 3.7.7, and then also I'm including the awesome library which you can get at af.codewithmark.com, and I will leave a link in there for you. And if you haven't used this library, trust me, if you use this and you use the Bootstrap framework, this is going to help you save a lot of time. It is absolutely free. This has a CDN built in. You can If you want, you could use a URL, or if you want, you can copy this whole library, plug it into your thing, and life is good. And it gives you a description of what it actually does. It has a pretty neat function that you're absolutely gonna love it. So that's that. So that's what's happening in here, and then we got going to go over to our HTML first. Let's go all the way down here. And this is pretty self-explanatory for the most part. It's just a table that gets created, and then this screen gets repeated in terms of your adding it, updating it. That's when it happens. And that is that as far as this goes. But the meat and potato that I actually want you to go over it, I want to go over it with you, is that your Google Sheet. How do you send data over to Google Sheets, Google Apps Script part of it? Because once you understand that one time, after that, you'll be like, this is piece of cake, because it's like something similar to your jQuery or JavaScript AJAX request. But in AJAX, Google Scripts has their own function built in, which is great for you, and that way it'll save you a whole lot of time. So what I'm going to do is this. I will show you how this particular adding a new task feature works, and then after that it's just rinse and repeat. So let's go over here where let's just find it, add a new, here it is. So whenever I click or somebody clicks on it, it's going to load up your screen, which has the template of this, which is this, and it's going to load it up in here and show it. And when I add, meaning I click on the save button, this on click event is going to happen. First, it's going to check to see if the task name, date, and the description is filled in. Goes to the validation part, and once it finds it that it is filled in, then it's going to go and put this object, JSON object, into like this, your name, date, description, so on and so forth. And this is where it actually whole thing takes place. If you understand this, you could literally build an amazing Google Sheets web application. Like, wow, like powerful applications. This thing right here is Google Scripts own AJAX request. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down for you. So in here, this part, you literally have to copy and paste it. There's nothing you have to do to change it. And then over here, which is at the end, which means this function, and then whatever this that you put in here is what you have to call on the other side, which I'll show you. So let's just go over this. So in here is add task. This is the function name. And then this is the object or array that you are passing to Google's AJAX request. And everything in here is that you are going to send back to your HTML via JavaScript. So let's take a look at this particular function. So we're going to go over here and let's go add task, which is right here. So what I did was to show you, I'm passing this parameter, which because it asks for a new parameter, which has a task name, date, description. If I go back in here, add task, exact same function. And this is your regular JavaScript function. Let me repeat that, regular JavaScript function. Anything you could do in JavaScript, you could do it in Google Apps Script. Like how cool is that? And also speaking of JavaScript, if you want to learn how to use or master JavaScript and jQuery, I have a course which the link will be in the description for you. Go on and take that particular course. You are going to absolutely love it. Everyone who has taken it, they absolutely love that as well. So go on and take that course. You're going to love it and you're going to learn a ton of it. If you're brand new, you're going to love so much from it. You'll be like, wow, it's pretty cool. So this is just, like I said, this is just your regular JavaScript function. Passes a object in here, which I'm calling in here. And the one thing I will tell you this. First thing, well, let me tell you this. First thing, what you do is you connect, which I showed you before, which is right over here, connect to the sheet. And then it ask for one parameter. What sheet name do you want me to connect to? So in this case, we're saying sheet name is 1. So which is right over here, 1. That's what we're passing it. And then since we added a row ID, we're just going to call record ID. In this case, we really don't need it. We can take it away. I just left it there just for the hell of it. But you could take it away because it's not taking place, because what we are adding is from column B, C, and D. And that's what's happening. And then one thing, the way you add a row to your Google Sheet is a array within array. So that's why you'll see, if you're familiar with the JavaScript arrays, objects, and things, if you're not, take that course. You're gonna love it. And it's the way I explained it is so easy for you to understand. You're like, wow, this is pretty cool. But if you are familiar with it, let's move on. So you got an array with an array, and then you have array values. That's all you do. And then you get the last row. In this case, is this. What I'll do is I'll toss this out because we don't really need it, because the row ID is in here. So row ID is, like I said before, it's going to get the last row in this case before I added this, which was 2. And then you want to say add 1 to it, which means starting row 3. You're going to go and add that in here. So this is your row ID. And then from here, since we have connected to the sheet, this particular variable, this function is already built in. So what it's going to say is going to go B3, just we're assuming we're adding row number 3, B3 to D3 add, which is this set values, this particular function, which is array with an array. And that's all it does. And once it does it, then it's going to send a success message, and also it's going to call this particular function and add a variable, a JSON object to it called task. And let's take a look at this function, which is up top. And all this does is whole sheet data, and then it's going to go from row 2 to all the way at the end until row D has the last information. In this case, if row 3 wasn't added, it will be this. It's going to go here, and then it's going to get the values of all those rows. And then what we're doing is we are literally passing the line number, because I'm ignoring this top row. So I'm adding a line number, task, date, description, and if it finds it, then it's great success. And that's all of the result here. Is going to get passed in here, and once it passes in here, it's going to come back here, and then bada bang, bada boom, it's going to go here, and then it's all done. And once it's here, then it's going to go to what I'm using as a local storage, updating it. And once I update it, then I will use this create table, which is already here. Where is it? Right here. It just creates your HTML table, dumps the information in there, and it's very easy to use. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, if you truly found this video helpful and you thought this was pretty cool, and if you're interested in taking any of the courses that I offer, link will be in the description for you. Go on and take that course. But if you found it, like I said, helpful, consider subscribing to the channel, because I create amazing, helpful web development related video to help you become a professional web developer a lot faster. So I'll see you on the next video, and as I always said, happy coding.